Hello neighbors, it's Brad here at Etrailer, and today we're taking a look at installing the Gen-Y running boards on a 2017 Ford F-150. Gen-Y products are some heavy-duty products that are built extremely well and very rugged, and these running boards are no different. They look fantastic, and the point of a running board is to be able to hop up in your vehicle even with wet or muddy or slippery feet, and that way you have a nice step into your vehicle, which is great not only for the driver, passenger, but if you have kids or anyone with mobility issues, this sure makes it a lot easier for them to get in. And if you're out on the job site with muddy boots, a lot of your factory running boards are just kind of plastic and molded, so there's really not a whole lot to bite into. And these are practically a boot scraper. They have notches along the entire thing that's full of grip as you step onto it, but it's also wide open, which is really nice because it's not really going to allow anything to build up in here. So if mud or dirt is caked in here, it's a wide open on the bottom. Same with snow, rain, ice, anything like that. You don't have to worry about that causing a slip issue. Now these are solid steel, so they're pretty heavy, but that's kind of a good thing for something that you're stepping onto. And the black powder coat finish that they have is very heavy duty. All of Gen-Y's products have a really thick powder coating in the best way. So, being that it is steel, this is gonna hold up with that finish to rust, corrosion, anything like that long term and look really good. And as far as weight capacity, 400 pounds is pretty solid. I'm every bit of 200 pounds and there's really not a whole lot of flex at all. They feel extremely solid, and that's because it mounts up to factory spots. So even if I had another grown adult on the back side hopping into the back, that's still gonna hold up to that capacity. Now, if you're looking at this and you say, well, I don't want them that low, or I need them a little bit lower for someone to get in, not to worry. Right now we have it in the middle height, but there's about an inch of adjustability up or down. You also have adjustability to be able to slide this out a little bit as well as side to side. You can really get it dialed in exactly where you want it. I'm very happy with this. I'm still able to get my foot on there no problem, and I can use the whole board, but it doesn't look too bulbous by sticking out too far. So with that adjustability, you can make it exactly how you want. When it comes to the installation, super easy. This is a custom fit to this truck as well as any of the other fits from Gen-Y. So that means that it bolts up directly to factory spots where a factory running board would go. So the studs are already there. You just bolt up the brackets, which fit really nice, and then continue on with bolting up your Gen-Y steps, get it all aligned, snug it down, get it torqued down, and then just repeat on the other side. So really, if you're doing this by yourself, you could probably have it knocked out, and I would say give yourself maybe an hour. It's really not too bad to do. And for something that's easy installation, that you're gonna have grip and something that you'll use every time you get in and out of your vehicle, I think it's totally worth it. So if you're interested, follow along on the installation and I'll show you how to get them installed. To get our installation started, I recommend laying everything out on each side of the truck. So running board wise, you should see that some of these slant towards the back, and that's kind of the way that we're gonna have it laid out, driver versus passenger side. So just make sure you have the right side ready to go. And we're gonna need 3 brackets that look like this on each side. Now these are not side specific, so just divvy those up. And then we're also gonna wanna grab our side specific brackets. These will eventually bolt up to our brackets that go underneath the truck, but you'll see as I hold this up, it faces towards the back. You're gonna want this tab towards the rear of the vehicle, and that's gonna be consistent along the entire driver's side, and then the passenger side is gonna be having this tab go towards the back as well. And then eventually we're gonna be bolting it all together using 3 brackets on each side, so have those ready. And let's begin. We'll grab our bracket, head underneath the truck, and start bolting it up. Now head underneath your truck and you're gonna find that you have studs in 3 different locations, and there should be 3 studs in each grouping. Our bracket is gonna be custom fit, and you'll see pretty quickly why. As we slide this over the studs, it is gonna fit perfectly against the truck, and you'll see, I mean, right here, we got a little bit of slot side to side, and that's something that's important because as we tighten this down, we don't wanna snug it up all the way. That little adjustment is gonna make it to where we can really get this running board nice and in place with our brackets later on. So you'll see that we do have an opening up top that we're not using. That's because this is universal, so you can use it on the other side. So we'll get these over the studs. We'll put washers over each of those studs. And then as far as hardware, you're gonna have 2 different nuts with your running board. So we'll have The lock nuts, which have the 3 little notches in there, those are going to be used a little bit later. What we're going to use is just the regular nuts, and we're just going to hand tighten these on. You should be able to get them pretty easily. It's possible that your studs have a little buildup on them, but if you need to zip them down, a 13 millimeter socket is going to be good. And we're going to just tighten it down enough. I'm going to do this by hand to where it's snug, to where it's not going to be moving out like this, but we still want to be able to maintain that side to side. So just tighten it down enough to where it's pretty well in place, but again, enough to slide laterally. At this point, we'll just repeat for the other 2 brackets further up the truck. Now we'll grab our side-specific brackets, and you're going to see that there's obviously a bunch of holes here, and there's only 3 on our bracket, and that's to adjust the height that you want your running board. So if someone maybe have kids or someone with mobility issues, you may want to have this a little bit lower to make it easier for them to go into the vehicle, or if you want it a little bit more tidy against the truck, you can go as high as you want. I'm going to go for the middle ground here, so just put the 1 middle stud or hole here into the middle, and then the other 2 should line up. So we want to make sure that we're keeping it consistent across the brackets, and also for consistency's sake, I'm going to be putting it on the back side of the brackets towards the rear of the vehicle. So I'll get my 1 bolt in first, and then this is where we're going to be using those lock nuts. So we'll just finish that up on the other side. I'm just going to loosely get them in place and do the same thing for the rest of our brackets. We're going to wait to tighten this down, and especially too, because as we put the running board up, you may start to notice, okay, maybe I do want it a little bit higher, a little bit lower, and then you can adjust it without this all being tightened down. So with those loosely in place, now we can grab our running board and kind of lay it on our brackets. And this is a great time to take a look at the height, and if you're not happy with that, you can adjust it and then test it again and see the difference between those heights. But another thing is we want to make sure forward to back is going to be at a spot that we like. So I try to picture people hopping in and also just take a step back and see what makes sense. A lot of times what I'll try to do is also follow a body line. So for instance, the end of this door, if I put our running board here, that makes it a lot easier when you get to the other side to have a reference. That way it's going to be mirrored. And once you determine that you're happy with your setup, you're going to have a little bit of adjustability here, but your brackets, you'll see there's a high side and a low side. This is going to sit into the grooves, and you want it aligned with the slotted hole that's on our bracket. So we'll get this one right here. And once I'm happy with that, I'll take my bolt. I'm going to drop this down through, and then I'm going to take my lock nut. We'll put that underneath here. So same thing, I'm just going to hand tighten it so it holds in place, and that way we can adjust how far out we want these. So at this point, we'll just go to each spot and repeat this process. So that's why we left everything loose. There is some play here and there. Just make sure that it makes sense that this is lining up with that bracket accordingly. And once you're happy with the fitment, at this point, we're going to start snugging everything down. So I'm going to start by doing the nuts that we had on our brackets. So that'll be that 13 millimeter socket. Just make sure that the brackets are nice and squared up, or perpendicular, I guess you'd say, with the truck. So with that, you have that sliding, just get it to a nice happy spot, and then you can snug them all down across the board. Now we're going to be tightening up the 3 bolt and nut combo on each of our brackets, and you'll find that it's not exactly square. With the weight of the running board, it's going to want to slant back. So what I'm going to try to do is get this as level as possible. So if you need to, you could put something underneath here to support it, and it should get these brackets to where they're flush on the backside. It should line up nice and clean. And once you're happy with that, you'll just start tightening these down and make sure that it's nice and level across the board. Now to get these snug down, you're going to need a box end or open end wrench, a 1/2 inch, and as well as a 1/2 inch socket. And we'll get these all snug, just making sure that we still have it nice and level. And if you just snug it down and you have a little bit of adjustability still, it might be worth doing that, and that way it's going to kind of hold it in place, but you'll still have a little adjustability as you go through the rest of the brackets. Now we'll just repeat for the other sides. Now, once you have them all in a good spot, you should be able to take a look at the running board and make sure that it's even across the board. And once you're really happy with that, then you can really torque those down exactly where you need. But having it snug gives you a little bit more adjustability. Now, the last piece that we're going to need to adjust is how far out do we want it? And that really comes down to, do you want it sticking out for that extra grip, or do you want it a little bit cleaner looking? So not a ton of adjustment, about an inch or so, but it's enough to where you can really change the look and functionality of it. Once you're happy with where you have it in place, you're going to be tightening this down again with a 1/2 inch. Now, you will probably need a socket up top to be able to gain access to the one in the bracket, and just make sure that that bracket is sitting nice and flush in that groove where we placed it. So now I got everything snugged down, and again, this is a great time to really get some fine-tune adjustment. So I still have a little bit of wiggle room just from where I tightened it down. So we look at the side, kind of get the profile of it, and really just make sure it's nice and level. And this is the most tedious part of any running boards, is really getting it dialed in to where it's perfect. But once you found that perfect happy medium where it looks great, everything looks level, all your brackets are seated, then you can torque down all of your hardware, and all that's left to do is repeat all the same steps on the other side of the truck. And that was a look and installation of the Gen-Y running boards on a 2017 Ford F-150.